start in a couple of minutes. I'll also join on another device so that I know that screen is being shared. Anna, can you confirm the screen is visible?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay. Is my video visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Somebody was trying to reach me. I sent a message to call you. So they may call you in case they are not able to join.
Okay.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. This is Vasudesh Pandey from Easylib Software Private Limited. Today's topic of the webinar is 8 mistakes to avoid while automating your library. So this is a very interesting topic actually, because we launched our Easylib product about 24 years back. So at that time, it was in the beginning stages of the automation. So a lot of libraries had not done any automation, no data entry, nothing. So over the years, we have been working with you all. Thanks to all the librarians, we grew from the first customer, which was Golden Valley Institute of Technology. At that time, it was called. Now it is the Dr. Timaya Institute of Technology at Kolar Goldfield. First customer. Till now, we have got about nearly 700 customers spread across 8 states in India and a few countries outside India. So thanks to all of you. We have learned a lot from you by interacting with you, learning more about the automation, learning more about specifically the library automation, giving you the best of what you require for your library. And in fact, the credit for getting Easylib to this shape with respect to the functionality should all go to the librarians, because you have played a key role over here. So as we worked with you, we did a study and then tried to come up with the things what would make the librarian make the job of automation easier. So for the purpose of this presentation, we are keeping it as any automation. So any library or any software that you use for library automation. So, okay, so keeping that in mind, we will cover this session. 8 mistakes to avoid while automating your library. Okay. So let me get started. The first mistake. I think I would. Okay. What is the first mistake that we see in the libraries during the automation? Is that first is little long-term view. What do I mean by is that many times, how do you know what to automate? Quite often what happens is that the automation is limited to only certain portion of the library. Okay, we have certain number of books. We want to catalog all the books. That is the definition of automation for some libraries. Some libraries, the automation could be, we have the books, we want to automate, and now we want to do the student data management and certification. A few more libraries, periodicals will get added. Few more libraries, the acquisitions get added. And then the digital library gets added. The visitor management get added. There are so many of them. So now the first mistake that I see that happens in many libraries when they say automation, even in very big libraries that I'm counting, the automation is limited to cataloging, OPAC, that's it. Cataloging and OPAC. Many times, even the circulation is not included, right? So why does it happen? It is because of the limited long-term view. So, okay, so the impact is that when you are very limited in terms of what are the view that you have in the library. So you will end up missing some of the very important things. Most of the times you will not miss the things as circulation, but you will miss the important things like event management. Because you know what's happening in the worldwide. When I look at the tenders worldwide of the different libraries, the standard library automation items that are like OPAC, web OPAC, cataloging, circulation, membership, periodicals, these are very common. They mention only about 4 or 5 pages. But the remaining 10, 20 pages of the tender documents are totally different related to what additional things they want in the library. Some libraries wanted the event management. Some libraries wanted the journal management. Some libraries wanted the complete revamping of the ID card printing and all that thing. Quite a few of them, right? So now the recommendation that we have for everybody is that keep a very long-term view of the library. How you will get it? Definitely through a lot of studies. So when you want to automate, take a good picture of how can we make your library from this library, where it is right now, to something extraordinary library. I'm quoting the extraordinary library. You don't have to worry about the budget at this moment. Just what you want to do in your library to make it very extraordinary is what you want to think and document those things. And by the way, all these ideas are not just, I'm not the person who is saying these ideas from my imagination alone. Thanks to all of you, because many of these inputs have come from you. Some of the best libraries today, what they do is they do an annual planning of what they want to do in the library. They have a 5-year plan, and that 5-year plan keeps getting rolled every year. Every year there is an update to that 5-year plan. So today, for next 5 years, what we want to do in our library. Every year that is presented. Second, quarterly reports are being sent to the management. Okay, maybe that's in the second one I would see here. Yeah. So the quarterly reports are being sent to the management. So how is the library performing? How many books we have got, journals we have, what is the footfall of the physical library, digital library, visitor management, what are the benefits we are giving, all those things. So the librarian takes initiative to keep the management updated on what all is happening at the library. So first come up with a 5-year plan, then the annual plan. Then what are the things that you want to do over the next 5 years, or this quarter, or this year? You put an approximate budget and keep in touch with the management regularly. At this moment, you give them the budget without even worrying whether they will approve or not. Because just yesterday, I was talking to a librarian. He called me in the afternoon, 2 o'clock, said, I never thought my management was going to approve it. I just gave a proposal and they approved it. Imagine his happiness. Now, if he had not thought about what all he wanted to do in the library and not taken the initiative that, okay, he want to automate it, he want to get a digital library institutional repository built, track all the visitors, get the barcode, get the good ID cards with the tags, all that thing. He had done the planning, gave the budget to the management, and the management approved it. So my request to all the librarians is take a very long-term view of the library. And then based on that, you automate it. Instead of the other way around, wherein you see one software, okay, we want to automate, we want to just do that part alone, right? So, summary, you want to make sure that you do a planning and then go with the audit. All right. The second mistake that I have seen, one very big institution I came across, crores of rupees of money was invested in the library. Huge library building, huge investment in terms of the RFID and machines and many more and seating arrangements and all that. Do you know what? The librarian was not in the picture. This happens quite a few sometimes. So now what is the impact of that? When the management or the IT department take the decision without keeping the librarian in the loop, What is the impact we are seeing is that the ownership of the library itself getting modified over here. Is the IT team the owner of the library, or the librarian is the owner of the library? This happens especially when the colleges have a very good IT department. That's good. It's good that you have the IT department, but ultimately the owner of the library is the librarian, correct? So now, what is the impact? The IT department takes some decision, the management takes some decision, and they say that, okay, this is what is going to be done in the library. And this is how the library is going to look. This is how the seating arrangement is going to be. This is where the librarian is going to sit. This is where all the assistant librarian, where the RFID, everything, all that is being kept. And this is the software we are using. All that thing is decided by the management. Now, what happens is that the librarian does not have an opportunity to tell what all he wants. So he or she ends up using with only what has been provided by the management, which is most often influenced by the external consultants or experts as per the management. But are those experts the real experts as per the librarian? That's a questionable thing, right? So how do we mitigate this? How do we make sure that management doesn't override or does not take the librarian into the confidence? That should not happen. So the very first thing that the management I would recommend is that management should be able to should work with the librarian on all the decisions related to the library. That is, when I meet the management, that's what I tell them. Secondly, what can be done from the librarian? So first is you want to develop a visibility at the management level. In the first one we had right, submitting the quarterly reports to the management, whether the management asks or not, the librarian or the library team should give a quarterly or monthly report to all the key stakeholders of the institution, management, principal, faculty, student, and something. So you want to make sure that you develop a good visibility of your library at the institution level so that librarians remain the owner of the library, and management, whenever it wants to take any decision related to the library, will make sure that they are in touch with the library. Next, what else can be done? Second is keep taking initiatives at the library level. That includes conduct some events, orientation sessions, book clubs, invite some authors. What all is happening in the news today? Say, for example, 2 days back, there was a budget presentation. Maybe can the library arrange a talk by an economics professor on the budget? Right? So something need to be done by the library for the benefit of the entire educational institute. Then automatically the visibility will go up. So now, what if you are in such a state where you are in a certain stage, or you have joined newly, and then so you are operating in the existing environment? Still, my belief is that as you take up these more initiatives, automatically the trust level keeps going up. And when the trust level goes up, automatically the budget will keep coming up. As more budgets keep coming to the library, automatically you can do more and more things for the library. So that is the second mistake to avoid, where management should not, you know, management, the thing that is expected is that management should always keep the library and library into confidence. Okay, so let's see what is the third mistake. Third mistake, Sahana, can you let people into the meeting so that I don't get the notification?
Okay, sir.
All right. So the third thing, choosing software only based on the cost. This is one mistake that I see quite often happens. You know how it happens, first of all? This is the route in the first two. If the librarian or the library were to send constant update on what is happening in the library, what are the trends in the library space, what their institution is doing, what their institution is not doing, and how they should improve. When this happens, management will not put the cost at the topmost priority. They will put the importance of giving the best services to the students as the top priority. Cost comes next. If that is not done, cost automatically takes a higher priority. When the cost takes higher priority, what happens? Management would ask the librarian, choose a software which is costing the least. Now, okay, all right. So how do you make sure that the cost is less? So many hidden costs are ignored. As a result, what happens? College may end up with getting a software without keeping the entire total cost of ownership in mind. You get a software. Software may be having certain cost. But what about the cost of the server? What about the cost of maintaining those servers? Do you have the firewall? Who is going to take care of dual internet? Do you have done the VAPT testing, vulnerability accessible penetration testing? What happens if somebody comes through your web pack to your college network and spoils everything? Have you budgeted for those? What about the server maintenance? What about the server operating system changes? What about the patches that the Microsoft keeps on releasing regularly? What about the outdating of that particular operating system? You name it, there are so many things. So running a software initially about 30 years back was limited to deploy a software in a local machine and you use it. Now it's quite different. We are living in a very interconnected world. So as we get more and more facility, the complexity is also increasing. So whereas the cost of the software may be this much, the cost of rest of the things will be this much. So my recommendation to all the librarians is, when you choose or when you decide to automate, keep the total cost of ownership in the mind. So this is to avoid some of the requirements being missing, or avoid the cases where for everything there is a charge and so on. Or you end up getting only something which will not at all be scalable. Right? So how do you avoid that? Prepare a cost sheet based on overall total cost of ownership. If I buy this software, for next 10 years, how much are we going to invest from our college or institution or university onto this, running this software at the extraordinary level? Not less, not cutting the corners, not removing services, no OPAC, no web OPAC only when you are in the college, nothing, nothing, nothing. They are all following the shortcuts. Web OPAC should be accessible on the mobile. That's it. That's the expectation. When the students borrow a book, they should get either a email or a WhatsApp or an SMS. That is the basic expectation. So these kind of high requirements you keep in mind and evaluate the come up with the total cost of ownership. So the procedure to evaluate is very simple. First, decide what all you want. What all you want, you list it. Don't worry about the cost at this moment. Evaluate the offerings from the vendors. Which vendor has quoted what? Some vendors may have quoted for all the 10 items. Some may have quoted only for 4 and then expect you to do the remaining 6. For the 6, you put your own cost. So do the complete evaluation based on what you want. So do a technical evaluation, decide what you want, then feed in the commercials. Then secondly, you do the commercial evaluation. Make sure that you always think about total cost of ownership. Then you evaluate which software suits you the best, which vendor suits you the best, which software suits you the best. Remember one thing, what you think as a very high price may not be high price for the management. Yes. When one vendor tells that it's going to cost about 3 lakh rupees per year for your institution to automate your library at an extraordinary level, a librarian may think, oh my God, 3 lakh is a very high amount. When you put that all the things, go to the management and showcase this. If the management, if the entire college budget is, let's say, about 100 crore rupees, entire university budget is about 100 crore rupees, 3 lakh rupees is a very, very, very small amount. Again, my request to all the librarians is that you want to keep what are the things required to make the library, run the library extraordinary level and then give the budget. Management let it decide whether they want to invest 1 lakh, 5 lakh, 10 lakh rupees or 20 lakh rupees. So then you can get the best of what you want. Let the management take care of the costing part. Okay, roughly I should tell you 100 rupees per student per year is roughly the cost of providing extraordinary service as far as our based on our experience of deploying Easylib. 100 rupees. Add more items, 200, 300. Not more than that. Okay, and 100 rupees, it may come to about if you have 1,000 students and 100 rupees, how much it comes? About a lakh rupees. Right? 1 lakh rupees per year. Right? So anyway, so the third mistake to avoid is choosing the software only based on the cost. So keep much more things, especially the overall cost of ownership in mind. All right, let's go to the fourth mistake to avoid. Data migration. So you are using one software, you want to come to the new software. Fair enough. Now, when you want to do the data migration, the first thing that you want to do is evaluate what all data you have got. Many times, the vendor may say that, okay, I will migrate this data, but you may have this much data. What will happen to that? Right? So typically a library will have the data of the student data, the books data, the catalog, journal data you have got, journal subscription data you have got, journal loose issue data you have got, bound volume data you have got, past circulation data you have got, current circulation you have got, the overall pending fine you have got, existing digital library material you have got, existing visitors in out in a piece of, in a notebook that I have written that you have got, right? And many other things. Is the migration taking care of all those? That you want to verify that. Fortunately, in the library, everything is pretty much standardized. Thanks to the mark, thanks to the Dublin core, thanks to the training you all have undergone about 2 years in the Master of Library Science, the data is much, much clearer. But many places, this is one of the biggest issues that we see over here. Now, when there is a data migration issue, what happens is that suddenly the things are found to be not having all the data. You have the old system, which is decent enough, but not doing everything. You have the new system doing a lot more things, but the data is not there. So what happens? You end up using the old system, you end up using the new system. Some data will be up to date here, some data is up to date here. Becomes such a mess, right? So what to be done? First thing is clarity. Make a clear list of what all data you have got. Whether the vendor asks or not, you want to make sure that you give all the data that you want to be in the new system, including your pictures on the pack, the logo that you wanted, the events information that you want, the groups of the students that you have got, the selective dissemination of information groups you have created, every data you please give to the vendor. Don't wait on the vendor to say, okay, I want this. Instead, you can take the lead. I want all this to come. This is what I have got in Excel. This is what I have got in the old system. This is what I have got in the pen and paper. And I want all of these to come to the new system. So that clarity plays a big role. Second, next step, when you do the migration, I would recommend you to do a trial migration first. When it comes to Easylib, right, we have got pretty standard migration because there are so many installations already done. It's pretty robust. But if you have any new data, newly added data, even in Easylib also, right? So some new module, you want to make sure that there is a trial migration done of about 100 records, 200 records, verify everything is migrated correctly. Then you have everything rest of them loaded. Otherwise, what happens is that all the data comes into the new system, then you may find so many things are missing. So trial migration really plays a big role. Third one, in case of library or any system, you want to do parallel run. The old system will be running, the new system will be running for about a week or two. So thankfully, right now in Easylib, we have got going live directly over here, and it has been going pretty good. But any system that you want to make sure there is a parallel run, because when you do the parallel run, you will come up with the issues that need to be fixed in the data migration. And one thing I wanted to tell you, based on my experience of the data migration of the libraries, any, having a 10 or 20,000 records to about 1 lakh or 2 lakh records, the data migration should not take more than 4 weeks. 4 weeks. I know some libraries, they were not using Easylib, they were using something else, they were using, the data migration went for almost 8 or 9 months. That I would definitely not say the best practice. 4 weeks is what you want to expect for complete data migration of your library. Your parallel run should not be more than 4 weeks. Within 4 weeks, old system should be shut down and new system should be up and running. That is the goal that you want to. That is the fourth one to keep in mind. All right. So the next one. A small view of the library's functions is what happens many times when the people automate it. Right? So when you keep very small view, and when I say small, I'm not trying to undermine anybody, but I must say that what is happening in the best libraries worldwide is changing far at a higher speed than what is being taught in the MLISC. The university syllabus are updated once or twice in a decade, but the library functions are changing almost every 6 months. So when I look at the tender documents from the different libraries worldwide, I find so many new functions here. So my request to all of you would be that why don't we not limit ourselves to smaller view of the library function? If we keep this only the smaller view of the library functions in the mind, we will end up with a small system which will only do the basic things for your library. To avoid that, you want to make sure that you have expanded the scope of what all should be in the library. The very first thing that I recommend for every library is institutional repository of the digital library management software and visitor management software should be part of the core library software. You don't have to invest further separately. Then there are many other things that you want. Event management. NAC wants you to conduct a survey of the library, survey management. LMS integration, learning management integration. Student personalization through the emails, SMS or service desk. What is a service desk? Student should be able to open a ticket or a request saying that I need this, and the library should be able to take care of that. And as if you are requesting a vendor to provide a service on a certain items, students should be able to request what they want out of the library, and the library should be able to provide that service. And you should be able to get a clear dashboard saying that, okay, in the last 1 month, we got 120 requests. Out of 120 requests, 95 requests were resolved within 1 day, and about 20 requests within 3 days, and the rest of them took about a week or so, something like that. See, when you do all this advanced thing, right, automatically the management will be very happy because management might itself many times may not even know what are the functions of the library unless you tell. So my request to all of you is that include all these functions as a part of the library, including API integration, multiple systems, because you have one library system, you have some other system. Can they talk to each other real time? That is the expectation that's required over here. So those all of you are using the phone pay, right? When I use the phone pay, imagine how much of the integration that's happening. I open phone pay. Phone pay talks to Canara Bank where I have my account. and it talks to, from that it goes into the UPI gateway. And the UPI gateway, it may go to the ICICI Bank or the SBI where the other person has the amount. And it will go and update over there. And then SMS will go to that person. So minimum five integrations, right? These all are through the API integration. And the cost of this API integration quite often is more than the software cost itself. So that is why when you choose what software you want to make sure that it's very easy to integrate using the APIs. So keep this expansion, keep the horizon of what all you want in the library quite big. That is the simple thing. So some of them I listed: event management, student survey management, LMS integration, personalization, service desk, API integration, barcode, ID card, RFID integration, journal publications, project management, student counseling, and many, many, many more things. And you can even expand it to many more also, because many of the libraries are now called library and information center. What it means? Any information pertaining to that organization, library should be the owner. What is the, how many chairs, how many tables, how many computers we have got in the library? How many in the entire college? Library can be the owner of that data. How has been your performance of last 20 years in terms of the students? The library can maintain that data, right? So definitely the software which helps you expand the scope of the functions of the library is what you want to choose. Okay. Sixth mistake to avoid. No matter which software you are using for your library, if you do not conduct enough orientation sessions to your end users and students, the automation effectiveness becomes less. What is the mistake that many times happen? Software is deployed, migration is done, training given to the library. Library starts using the new system. Students, they don't know. They come to the library, they search the books, go give the books, check it out, go home. They are not aware of all the benefits of the new system. Many times, you are investing a lot, lakhs of rupees for journals, for books, for external resources. You want to make sure that you give orientation to the student. If it is not done, many times the rest of the students don't know what all benefits the library is giving. In addition to that, there's so much of money you are investing on this, right? How are you getting the benefit out of that? You become member of something like a very large library network by paying about 20,000 rupees. But if nobody is going and searching the books, what is the use of spending those 20,000 rupees? Right? So now, how can we avoid this issue? One is, make sure that you create the necessary IDs for every person in your organization into the library system. Librarian anyway will have the access to the library system, all the cataloging, circulation. Create an ID for the principal, ID for the head of the departments, where they can see the data related to their particular department or the college, entire college. Principal should be able to see, okay, how has been the library usage in last 1 month. So that way you get the principal also use the system. Create an ID for the students so that students can go and find out, okay, how many books have I borrowed, and make sure that they get to know what is their password. Staff, faculty, management, many more. Everybody, you make sure that there is an ID created in the system. Second, refresh training have to be conducted regularly. At least once a year. When the new batch comes into the college, right, you want to conduct 1 hour solid session on what are the benefits of using the library system. What all you are providing, how to access the OPAC, how to reserve, renew the books, and so on. If possible, conduct one rolling orientation session every quarter. It doesn't matter how many people attend. From your side, you want to send a mail saying that there is an orientation session for the library from, let's say, so and so time to so and so time on this date. Keep conducting. 10 people, 20 people, 50 people come. How many people you come, you will conduct them the session. Because once some people attend, the word of mouth goes into the entire campus. Third one, library orientation awareness initiatives, book clubs, events at the library, talks by experts, hoardings in the canteen, front desk, entrance, many. Library should be an active, Dr. Ranganathan says, right? Library is a growing organism. It's a living organism. It should have a life. How can you bring life to the library? By making sure that library is visible at many places. I go to the canteen, I should see a big display board saying that what are the new arrivals of the library. As soon as I enter the campus, I should see some more board saying that, okay, who are the people coming to the campus? What are the new events that are happening in the library? So you bring life. And the students and the community should feel they are a part of the library. Then automatically the library usage satisfaction will also go up. So this was the sixth one. Make sure that orientation sessions and the awareness sessions are conducted. That's sixth. Seventh, Dr. Stephen Covey, in his book, right, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, he says we are always operating in an interdependent world. When we are child, we are dependent on our parents. When we become teenagers, many of us feel that, oh, I am a Superman, I can do this, I can do this, I'm pretty independent. But in reality, we are all interdependent. Students are dependent on the college is dependent on the student. Faculty dependent on the establishment dependent on the faculty. Always that's the true thing. And with respect to the vendors, we are dependent on the vendors are dependent on us. So if somebody says we should not take the help of the vendors, that is almost like a bluff. I'll repeat it. When somebody says we should do everything on own, not take the help of the vendors, it means that statement is not going to hold good. When we use this laptop is made by HP, Dell, Apple, IBM, or anybody. We are trusting that vendor, right? That's here it goes. When a parent decides to send a children to a particular college, he is trusting that the college is going to provide the child the best education. So there is always a relationship between vendor and when the parent is the customer here and the partner is the college. Similarly, for the library software also, the best relationship is making sure that you identify the most suitable vendor and work with them together rather than saying that, okay, I will do everything on my own. That is not the correct method. Just because there is an aeronautical department in the college does not build an aeroplane for the students to fly from Bangalore to Delhi. You still go to the Bangalore International Airport, go and sit in the aeroplane made by Airbus or Boeing or anybody. We trust those vendors. The things that are required to run in a professional environment are far more complex than in the trial mode. That applies to the library software also. How much ever good inclination somebody has saying that, okay, this department is going to deploy the software at your machine, there is always a limitation. Are they going to spend enough time for you? Have they taken care of the machine maintenance? There are not one, not two. There are 20, 30 things to be taken care. So it always makes sense to identify a suitable vendor, work with them. Make sure that you have very good relationship with the vendor. I am not saying only paying high. Paying high is just one of the things. Spending high is just one of the things. But interaction with the vendor, relationship with the vendor can give you a lot more benefit than doing everything on our own. Just I'll give an example. So we have a office in Bangalore, right? We are computer engineers. But you know what we have done? We keep all our servers at Iron Mountain, Whitefield, because they have a much bigger facility, much bigger security, much better security mechanism and withstanding all the things like, electricity fluctuation, the internet fluctuation and so on. So we find that keeping the high-end servers in order to give you the 24/7 uninterrupted service, we can do a much better job for you all by keeping our servers in a professional environment than keeping in our own office. And we are finding it working pretty good. So my request to all of you, when you are working with the vendors, make sure that the relationship is always based on the trust, backed by the documentation. That is the first thing. Consider vendor as a partner rather than a seller. That is what. We treat our vendors as our partners, and those people, anytime, even if I call them at 12 o'clock saying that, okay, this particular server, can you increase the space because there are many more students logging in, they will log in and do it. Definitely, it will help. So now, one thing is considering vendor as a partner. Second thing that you want to do is try to sign the long-term contract and make sure that when you give the proposal to the management, give for 5 years, not just 1 year. When you give for 1 year, next year they say, okay, is it costing this much again? No, 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 I want this approval. I want this. You will lose time. So instead of that, one time get the approval for 5 years, payment can still done be every year. That is perfectly fine. But the administrative task, the paperwork, you don't have to spend time every year. Especially for the government organization or any organization, if you think that there is a lot of paperwork and bureaucracy involved in approvals involved, you want to keep it at a longer period. So that will make the life easier. Next, you want to make sure that you factor in the inflation. Things are costing every year, the cost of the things will go up. Hundreds of years that has been happening. 2% is the minimum inflation, maybe 5-6% is the every year inflation. So, especially when you are in a vendor relationship, you want to factor in your budget the inflation part. Whether the vendor asks the money or not, that is different, increase the amount. But for your budget, you want to make sure that you have done the sufficient planning so that when you go to your management, management is not surprised saying that, okay, why there is a price increase? Because you have already done planning, right? And let me tell you one more thing. Vendors, many times, they don't want to reduce the cost. But if you ask them to give something else, they may be ready to give some of these things. Okay, you are getting this much software and this is the price. So now rather than asking for 20% reduction in the pricing, see, can you give me 2 more modules in the same price? The vendor will email it saying that, okay, I will give this or this much increase and whatever thing. But you can ask. Another thing you may ask, okay, can you do the upgrade? Okay, I want one more, something like, we will conduct orientation sessions and your support team member should participate online on every orientation session once in a quarter. Vendor doesn't have to incur extra cost, right? Anyway, he will have the support people. Anyway, he is providing the support. He or she will be more than happy to participate in the orientation session that you are conducting for your students. Online, of course. So these are the things where vendor will be more open to giving you the benefit than straight away reduction in the price. It's an art over here, not hard and fast, but definitely having a great vendor and the supply relationship will do a lot of wonder. Applies to the software. And the last mistake that I see many times that unfortunately has been happening is the moment something is done, a feeling of we are great, we have done it, the end. That is the biggest mistake that can happen because nothing is perfect in this world. Nothing is the end. Things will constantly keep changing. So the impact, what happens? Stagnation comes into picture. If your library was looking like this about 8 years back, if it is looking like this also now, where is Dr. Ranganathan's law being followed here? Library is a living, growing organism, right? How well is it growing? Are you what additional services you are providing? Right? So the moral of the story is there is nothing like the end. It is only step. We automate one step. We do something else, another step. We implementation personalization, another step. We implement automatic email, one more step. We have in-out gate management, one more step. SDI implemented, one more. API integration, one more. LMS integration, one more. Constantly you can improve it. So when you do that, there is a feeling of constant improvement. Automatically, the libraries standing at the entire institution will keep going down. So how to make it operational? When you do the 5-year planning, right, that itself will give you a good picture. Because you are this year, you are thinking about what is going to be in 5 years. So even if you don't know what else to do, you can simply follow what you have planned earlier. So finally, creativity, doing something different, doing something more extraordinary from anybody else can differentiate you from other libraries, other peers, and other people. So this is the last one. The last mistake to avoid is thinking this is the end. It is only a pause. That's all. So the scope for automation is unlimited. Unlimited. So avoid mistakes, be the best. So just for the benefit, I'll read out the 8 mistakes to avoid while automating the library. First one, avoid short-term view. Avoid the cases where management is not taking the confidence of the librarians and the vice versa. There should be a good rapport. Third mistake to avoid is choosing the software only based on the cost. Fourth mistake to avoid would be undermining the data migration part. Fifth mistake to avoid will be taking only a small view of the library automation. Sixth mistake to avoid would be not to conduct this user orientation session. Seventh meeting to avoid would be not planning thorough vendor relationship. Okay. In other words, you want to make sure you treat the vendor as a partner. Eighth mistake to avoid would be thinking this is the end. So these are the 8 mistakes that we avoided during the library automation, right? I am sure you would have much better operation and you will be a kind of a role model library for all your students, peers, and automatically should reflect in A plus, A double plus grade in the library. I'm very happy to tell that many of our customers who have avoided these mistakes, right, have got A plus and A double plus grade. And I'm very happy we are a partner with many of those people, and many of those people have been using our software for last 15, 20, 24 years. And really thanks to all of them. And thanks to all of you for joining this session. Now the forum is open for questions. Kindly post the question. I'll be happy to answer. Or you can directly unmute yourself and ask the question.